The night had fallen over the old town of Ravenshade with an eerie silence. The cobblestone streets were empty, the lamps flickering weakly against the cold mist. Detective Adrian Holt lit his last cigarette of the evening, staring at the crooked silhouette of the mansion at the end of Holloway Lane. That mansion had been abandoned for decades. Or so the townsfolk said. Yet tonight, Adrian swore he saw a light in one of its windows. He took a long drag, his sharp eyes narrowing. Adrian wasn't a man given to superstition. But something about the house always gnawed at his nerves. Another sleepless night, he muttered. His pocket watch ticked loudly, reminding him it was just past midnight. He decided to walk closer. If only to satisfy his curiosity. The mansion loomed larger with each step, its iron gates rusted, its garden overrun with weeds. A sudden gust of wind rattled the loose shutters. Adrian stopped at the gate and noticed footprints in the soil. They were fresh. So, someone really is inside, he whispered. Pulling his revolver from his coat, he pushed the gate open. The hinges screamed like a dying thing. He hated that sound. Still, he moved forward, cautious, each step deliberate. At the door, he noticed something carved into the wood, whisper. His brow furrowed. The word looked recently etched, the edges sharp. He knocked once. No answer. Twice. Silence. He pushed the door open, revealing a grand hallway cloaked in dust. Chandeliers hung broken, cobwebs swayed like curtains. But the strangest thing, candles burned on the stairway. Someone had lit them only moments ago. Adrian stepped inside, revolver ready. The wooden floor groaned under his weight. His eyes scanned the portraits on the walls, their faces scratched out as if someone despised them. Not creepy at all, he muttered dryly. A faint whisper floated through the air. He froze. It wasn't the wind. It was a voice. He couldn't make out the words. But the tone was pleading. He followed the sound, moving toward the library. The library doors were ajar. He pushed them open slowly. The smell of old paper and mildew filled his nostrils. Thousands of books lined the shelves. But many had fallen, pages torn and scattered. A candle flickered on the desk at the far end. Beside it sat a woman. She wore a pale dress, her back turned toward him. "Who are you?" Adrian demanded. The woman didn't turn. Instead, she whispered, "He's coming." Adrian tightened his grip on the revolver. "Who's coming?" he asked firmly. The woman slowly turned her head. Her eyes were hollow, black pits. Adrian's chest tightened. But before he could react, she vanished into smoke. The whisper echoed in his ears again, "He's coming." Adrian staggered back, his pulse racing. He didn't believe in ghosts. But what he saw wasn't natural. He needed answers. Leaving the library, he searched the mansion's upper floor. The whispers grew louder, as though guiding him. He passed a child's bedroom, the toys broken, the rocking horse moving by itself. "Yeah, that's not unsettling at all," he muttered. The whispers stopped outside a locked door at the end of the corridor. Adrian kicked it open. Inside was a study, its desk covered in yellowed letters. He picked one up, squinting in the candlelight. The handwriting was frantic, the words chilling, the shadows whisper secrets. "They never forgive." Another letter read, He hides behind faces. Trust no one. Suddenly, footsteps echoed behind him. He spun around, revolver raised. A man stood in the doorway. Tall, gaunt, dressed in a black coat. His face was pale, his eyes cold and calculating. "Detective Holt," the man said smoothly. "You shouldn't be here." Adrian steadied himself. "And you are?" "Elias Crow," the man replied. "This house doesn't welcome strangers." Adrian lowered his gun slightly, but kept his guard. "Funny. I didn't think ghosts welcomed anyone either." Elias smirked faintly. "Ghosts? Is that what you think you've seen?" Adrian's jaw tightened. "What was that woman in the library then?" Elias stepped closer. "Not a woman. A warning." Adrian frowned. "From who?" Elias's voice dropped. "From the one who whispers." And with that, Elias vanished into thin air. Adrian cursed under his breath. Nothing made sense anymore. But he wasn't leaving empty-handed. He pocketed the letters and left the mansion, determined to investigate. The night air hit him hard. But he welcomed it. He needed clarity. The next morning, he visited the town archives. The librarian, Mrs. Whitlow, raised her brow when he mentioned Holloway Mansion. "That place," she whispered nervously. "Best leave it alone, detective." "Can't do that," Adrian replied. "What do you know?" Mrs. Whitlow sighed, glancing around as if afraid someone might overhear. "The Crow family owned it. Elias Crow was the last heir. But he vanished 50 years ago." Adrian stiffened. "That's impossible. I spoke to him last night." The librarian's face went pale. "Then you spoke to a ghost, sir?" Adrian shook his head. "No. He was solid. Real." He left the archives with more questions than answers. Who was Elias Crow? Why was he still in that mansion? And who was the one who whispers? That evening, Adrian visited his friend Clara Winters, a journalist. Clara was sharp, fearless, and had a knack for uncovering secrets. "You're pale," she remarked as she poured him coffee. "You've seen something, haven't you?" Adrian handed her the letters. She read them carefully, her expression darkening. "This isn't just madness," Clara said. "These letters speak of a cult. A group that worshipped shadows." Adrian raised a brow. "A cult?" "Yes. The Order of Whisperers. They believe voices from the dark reveal truths." Adrian rubbed his temples. "Truths like what?" Clara's eyes flicked up. "Like who would live, and who would die." Silence stretched between them. Finally, Adrian stood. "I need to go back." Clara grabbed his arm. "Then I'm coming with you." He hesitated, then nodded. That night, the two returned to Holloway Mansion. The whispers began the moment they stepped inside. Clara shivered. "I hear them too." They followed the sound to the basement door. Adrian forced it open, revealing a staircase descending into darkness. With lanterns in hand, they stepped down. The basement stretched into a series of tunnels. Strange symbols were carved into the stone walls. "Cult markings," Clara murmured. The whispers grew louder, surrounding them. They entered a chamber lined with candles. At its center stood Elias Crow. His pale face flickered in the candlelight. "You shouldn't have come back," he said coldly. "What is this place?" Adrian demanded. "A temple," Elias replied. "The Order's last stronghold." Clara clenched her fists. "You're part of it." Elias smiled faintly. "I'm what remains of it." Suddenly, shadows writhed on the walls like living things. Adrian raised his revolver. "What's happening?" Elias spread his arms. "The Whisperer awakens." Clara gasped as a dark figure rose from the shadows, its form shifting, faceless. The whispers grew deafening. "It's not real," Adrian told himself. But the cold creeping into his bones told him otherwise. The Whisperer's voice filled the chamber. "One of you must stay." Elias laughed. "It always demands sacrifice." Adrian pulled Clara behind him. "Over my dead body." The shadows lashed out, knocking the revolver from his hand. Elias stepped forward. "It won't take me. I serve it." Clara shouted, "Then let it have you." She shoved Elias toward the shadows. They engulfed him instantly. His scream echoed through the tunnels. Then silence. The Whisperer retreated, its form dissolving. The candles went out, leaving only darkness. Clara clung to Adrian's arm, trembling. When they stumbled back into the mansion's hallway, dawn was breaking outside. Adrian exhaled heavily. "We are still alive." Clara nodded, though her face was pale. "But it's not over." Adrian frowned. "What do you mean?" She held up one of the letters she had stuffed into her coat. "The Whisperer never dies. It waits." Adrian looked back at the mansion, its windows dark again. The whispers were gone, for now. Over the next week, Adrian couldn't shake the feeling of being followed. At night, he'd hear faint murmurs in his apartment. Clara called him daily, her voice tense. "I hear them too," she admitted once. Adrian tried to dismiss it, but dread gnawed at him. On the 8th night, he woke to find a single word carved into his bedroom wall: "Whisper." His blood ran cold. Clara arrived minutes later, frantic. "It's spreading," she whispered. The mansion wasn't a prison. "We are." Together, they dug deeper into the Order's history. Records spoke of sacrifices, bargains, and whispers passed down generations. Every survivor carried the curse. So Elias was never free, Clara realized. "And now it's us," Adrian finished grimly. That night, they returned to the tunnels, desperate for answers. The symbols on the walls glowed faintly this time. "It knows we're here," Clara said. At the chamber, the shadows already waited. The Whisperer's voice filled their skulls. "Choose." Adrian clenched his fists. "No. We end this." He lit the letters on fire, the flames consuming the parchment. The shadows screamed, recoiling. Clara joined him, burning every fragment. The chamber shook violently. The walls cracked, dust raining down. The Whisperer shrieked, a sound that split the air. Then, silence. The shadows dissolved completely. The chamber collapsed behind them as they fled. Outside, the dawn sun blazed bright. Adrian collapsed onto the grass, gasping. Clara sank beside him, tears in her eyes. "Is it over?" she asked weakly. Adrian stared at the rising sun. "Maybe. Or maybe it's just sleeping. For days after, the town felt lighter. No whispers. No shadows. Clara returned to her reporting. Adrian returned to his cases. But late one evening, Adrian received a package at his door. No sender. Inside was a single candle, half burned. And a note. The whisperer waits. Adrian's hands trembled. He looked out his window into the night. For the first time, he thought he heard a whisper again. But he didn't tell Clara. Some truths were too heavy to share. Days turned into weeks. The whispers never left completely. Sometimes they were faint, sometimes loud. But Adrian learned to live with them. Because deep down, he knew the shadows weren't gone. They were patient. They were watching. And one day, they would demand another sacrifice. Until then, he would wait and listen.